Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Donald Capolino. I'm the hearing officer in this matter, and I'm now opening the public hearing. Before the public hearing began, I had marked for as hearing officers exhibit number 1, the notice of public hearing indicating that this Zoom public hearing would be held at 9:30 today. It is now 9:30. I have marked for hearing officers exhibit number 2 in evidence. The affidavit of publication indicating that the notice of public hearing was published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on November 20th, 2020. I have marked as hearing officers exhibit number 3 in evidence. The affidavit of Jenna Jones indicating that on November 20th, a copy of the notice of public hearing was served by mail upon the Honorable Nicholas D'Alessandro, the Town of East Fishkill supervisor, upon Dr. Jose Carrion, the superintendent of schools of the Wappinger Central School District, and Dr. Dwight Bonk, the acting superintendent of schools of the Wappinger Central School District, and upon the Honorable Marcus J. Molinaro, the Dutchess County executive. I had marked as hearing officers exhibit number 4 in evidence, the November 18th, 2020 letter of Timothy Dean, chairman of the Dutchess County Industrial Development Agency, designating me as the hearing officer in this matter. All right, with that, I will open the public hearing. The applicant would like to make any initial statements before we begin. Mr. DeCola, would you like to, or Mr. Ryan, would you like to make any initial statement?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was was having trouble with the. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for holding this public hearing for this matter. We are very appreciative of the opportunity to move this project forward. We've been working very closely with Supervisor D'Alessandro and the town of East Fishkill through a very coordinated and comprehensive entitlement process, and on behalf of Amazon for a new built-to-suit facility for them on the 123 acres of the former IBM campus. We actually just had a town board, or attended a town board meeting last evening where the project did receive its neg deck. So we feel as though we are in a good pattern to complete with the entitlements in short order. And the goal is to, soon after the weather breaks in the new year, actually break ground and realize the redevelopment of a site that has long been lying fallow and I think has been targeted for something like this. And we're very happy to potentially be part of that. A true accomplishment for the region.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is anyone else, Mr. Ryan or Mr. Griggs, would you like to make any statement? You're not required to. I just am asking if you would like. Mr. Griggs?
This is Bob Ryan. I just want to again just reiterate the applicant's appreciation to the IDA for entertaining this application for incentives to really make this project come together and be a successful project for the region.
Similarly, this is Brad Griggs. I'm a senior manager on Amazon's economic development team. I just want to thank the IDA board, executive director Sarah Lee, town supervisor D'Alessandro on this process and working together on hopefully making this into a very successful project here in the town of East Fishkill and Dutchess County.
Thank you. Supervisor D'Alessandro, would you like to make any statements for the record?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Town of East Fishkill is very excited about this project coming to our town. Like Mr. DeCola said, last night they received their neg deck and also their special use permit from the town board. We've been moving in lightning speed, and I appreciate the IDA's assistance. I appreciate the county's assistance, and it's going to be a tremendous project for the region. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you. I'll move through in the order of which the names are appearing on my screen. For those who haven't already spoken. Besides Laura, our court reporter, Ryan Kelly is next. Do you have anything you would like to add to this?
I'll just thank the IDA for their time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I see Michael Bettini. Mr. Bettini, would you like to make any statements? He's muted. Can you unmute Mr. Bettini? See if Mr. Michael Bettini would like to. Rachel, can you unmute?
I've asked to unmute. Let's see.
Yeah. Oh, he has the Michael Bettini has to unmute himself at this point?
Yes.
Okay. If you don't unmute within the next 10, 15 seconds, I don't know what to do, but to move on to the next person. You doing that? Okay. I will move on to the next person. Okay, Justice McCrae, would you like to be heard?
Yes, please.
Okay, you're on. Please.
Fantastic. Hi, thank you all so much for being here. I just have a couple of thoughts. I'm a resident of Beacon, New York. Amazon is convenient. It's got low prices and speedy direct delivery, which I think everybody appreciates. And I'm really excited for the promise of 500 new jobs. I think it's really great. And in this economy, it's something that's needed. But I do have a little bit of concern about the jobs that it could potentially take away. I am a heavy proponent of change. I fully understand that just because things are a certain way doesn't mean that that's the way that they have to be. And I do know that brick and mortar stores are dying. However, as a resident of Beacon, New York, I know that they are the backbone of our local economy. Beacon is a tourist town, and while I believe that basing in a community's economy around tourism is fundamentally flawed, Beacon's sales tax revenues are what ultimately fund the services in Dutchess County, and their sales tax, the sales taxes in Dutchess County are 41.1% of what Dutchess County's budgeted revenue is, and this warehouse would potentially obliterate Beacon's economy. And I don't see that tax money being replaced. While Amazon makes billions of dollars, which billions is truly, trillions I should say rather, truly an unfathomable amount. They avoid paying taxes at every turn, and the taxes they do report and paying are coming out of employees' paychecks. So while I appreciate convenience and I don't see myself stymieing any of this process at all, frankly, all I want to see is an equitable future built. And I can assure you that my community, the community of Beacon, will be there every step to build an equitable foundation and make sure that as long as this process is happening, that it is equitable in every step of the way. So if the 500 new jobs that Mark Molinaro is projecting includes the loss of all of the local businesses that this is going to take away from Beacon and other towns in Dutchess County, then I hope it, I hope that if the county is endorsing this, that they're going to ensure the safety of the employees that are going to be at this new warehouse, considering that in October of just this year, over 19.8 thousand employees were reported to have contracted COVID. And I know for a fact that when an employee died in an Amazon warehouse, Amazon workers were told to work around that employee. And that's not the kind of thing that I want to see built in my community. I want to make sure that whatever gets built here and is put here is ensuring the safety, means, and needs of the people in our community that are going to be working there. If the county thinks that this is the best thing to for our community, then I want to make sure that everything is being done to prevent the exploitation of the employees that are going to be there. And I know my community feels the same. If this is going to wipe out local businesses and change the direction in which our economy exists, which is, you know, working for the future is great. But if it's going to do that, then, and if it's going to be making as much money as Amazon does, there is no reason for employees that are going to be working there to have to rely on food stamps or other taxpayer resources to get by. If this warehouse comes to fruition, it needs to be something that is paying their employees and the people in our communities a living wage. I think this is a great idea. And if the county can ensure that at least $500 million in tax revenue funding in tax revenue comes back to us for our county schools, public programs, and other services and folks that folks here need. And $500 million sounds like a lot, but that's less than 0.001% of their net worth. So I think they can afford to funnel that much back into the county. That's, I think, the minimum they should be spending or giving back to us if this is something that's going to be happening here. I don't think that a $1 trillion company needs to be given any tax breaks should it be coming to our community. And I really hope that when it does come, it really boosts our schools and everything, our public services and everything else that could ultimately make our communities here in Dutchess County better. Like I said before, I appreciate the convenience. I appreciate convenience and low prices, but I will not trade that for the well-being of the people in my community. So as long as Amazon and the county knows that there will be unionization and that this community cares about its labor workers and that the county knows that it, or as long as the county's not giving this $1 trillion company tax breaks, but rather using their tax revenue to give independent business owners tax breaks to ultimately boost our economy. I think that this is a great idea. And that is all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next, Mr. Beretta, you're next. Could you open the mic for Mr. Beretta, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Capolino and everybody else.
I should begin by saying we did receive your comments, and those comments will be passed on to the IDA board as well. But please.
All right. All right. Thank you. So I'm opposed to the financial assistance. Amazon is reported to be a $1.7 trillion corporation, and they should pay their taxes. Amazon is a wildly successful company. That's great. I've been following the company since Jeff Bezos started selling books out of a small warehouse with a concrete floor, and nobody knew that anybody would buy a book online if you couldn't touch it or feel it. So I'm very familiar with the company, very familiar with the success and innovation. They can afford to pay their taxes. A $1.7 trillion corporation. So I'm opposed to the financial assistance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think just for the record, we should state that understand that on the IBM West campus where this project's located, there are obsolescent or obsolete buildings, and this project calls for and it's been that way vacant, I believe, for over 20 years. And I know that the IDA has been involved over the years trying to attract businesses there. And so the idea here is simply that they will, the applicant here will demolish the buildings and then put new, demolish 3 buildings and put one large warehouse there. And then they'll begin paying taxes on this new structure, but with a tax break as approved by the municipalities before the IDA would consider it. And that's what's being proposed here. So there will be new tax revenues coming in, and that's, you know, the IDA is aware of that. All right, next, Rachel, would you allow Doreen Tignanelli to please speak? Thank you.
Hello, this is Doreen. Well, Mr. Capolino, I understand what you just said, but the bottom line is Amazon is not going to be paying their full share of taxes. And while Mr. Griggs thanked the IDA and local officials, he failed to thank the local taxpayers who will be picking up Amazon's share of the taxes. So that should be recognized. I'm also opposed to the issuance of any financial assistance to the project. It places an unfair burden on local taxpayers. Amazon's $1 trillion company whose owner is the richest person in the world, and Amazon does not need me or other taxpayers in the county to subsidize their project. Every project that comes before the IDA seems to say the same thing. They threaten that if they don't get the financial assistance, they're going to go elsewhere. And Amazon was no different. They said that without financial assistance, they'll just utilize their current centers in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. And apparently such tactics work on the IDA, because in the year that I've been attending IDA meetings, the IDA has never not approved a request for financial assistance. Anyway, the material provided for the public to review was lacking one important piece of information, perhaps the most important piece. The application did not provide a dollar figure for the estimated property tax abatement amount. So they provided an amount for sales tax exemption, mortgage tax exemption, but the largest exemption lacked the dollar figure, and instead there was a nebulous TBD for to be determined, I'm assuming. And due to that lack of transparency, the public is forced to rely on the Poughkeepsie Journal, who claimed on November 17th that the property tax exemption was roughly $14.3 million. So again, that should have been included in the materials posted. Claims made that Amazon's going to provide 500 jobs. Well, 500 jobs sounds good, but will those jobs really be created? And while I know that the IDA and their council, every time I bring this up, they cite the existence of recapture or clawback provisions, meaning that if the promised number of jobs aren't created, then the tax incentives could have to be repaid. But those provisions are meaningless if the IDA is not accurately tracking job numbers. And an audit by the Dutchess County Comptroller found in her September 2018 report that there was no formal monitoring process in place to ensure accuracy of employment numbers, and that in some cases, the number of jobs certified by projects to the agency didn't match what the agency was reporting. So how are we supposed to know if these 500 jobs really were created? And chances are, we never will know whether that's an accurate amount, and the likelihood of them having to pay back any money is probably slim to none. And I'll say it again, the Dutchess County IDA appears to be over-incentivizing projects. Again, according to the Poughkeepsie Journal, a July 27, 2020 article entitled "Local IDAs Grant the Second Most Tax Breaks in New York State." And the Dutchess County IDA gave out over $22 million in tax exemptions and only got back 1,400 jobs. Contrast that with the Orange County IDA that gave out almost half the amount, $12.6 million in tax breaks, and they got 6,500 jobs created. So again, you know, for whatever reason, the county IDA seems to be more likely than other IDAs to be influenced into granting higher amounts of financial assistance. And I have no doubt that this project will be rubber stamped like every other project that goes before the IDA, but I still believe that Amazon, with all their wealth, should be paying their taxes in full. Thank you. Oh, and I will be submitting these comments in writing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Nick Page. Does Nick Page wish to speak? Rachel, could you unmute Nick Page? If Nick Page is
I have asked to unmute. He's allowed to unmute his mic if he chooses.
all right. We'll give you about 10 or 15 seconds to unmute Nick Page. Okay, not having unmuted, we will move on to Rebecca Edwards. Rebecca Edwards, would you like to speak? Would you please unmute Rebecca and ask if she would? All right, thank you. You
Hi.
are unmuted. Thank you.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you this morning. I'm wondering if I might pose a question, since this is one of the place where we have the opportunity to talk with people directly from Amazon, which will be the tenant. And that would be concerning employment policies. One of the ways that the Gap has been helpful as a warehouse project in Dutchess County is that they are open to hiring people who may be on probation or who have just come out of the criminal justice system. And that's been valuable since these are folks who are trying to get a new start and a fresh beginning. And it's often very difficult for them to find employment. And I'm wondering what Amazon's policies are around the employment of folks who may be on probation or have convictions on their record, but are trying to get a new start.
Well, the public hearing is really to listen to the public and have the public make whatever comment they have on the project. If you have a question and would like to do that, I'm willing in these circumstances to allow someone to speak on behalf of the project if they'd like. I leave that, Mr. Griggs, would you like to respond?
Sure. So from our Amazon's hiring practices, we're an inclusive, equal opportunity employer throughout North America. As part of our hiring process and due diligence, the applicants submit a written application, they go through an interview process, and then they are subject to a background check, and in these times, a contactless drug test. Part of the background check would be a review of their prior history. We do not necessarily disqualify people who have potential criminal backgrounds, but that is our proprietary hiring process that does include a background check as part of it, but it is not exclusive of those with criminal records.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Ms. Edwards?
No, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. No one.
Chair, Don, I think Supervisor D'Alessandro wanted to make one last comment.
Oh, sure. Supervisor D'Alessandro, please.
No, that's okay. My question was answered. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, since everyone's been given an opportunity to speak, and we thank you for your participation, everyone. And all of this information from today's meeting is being transcribed and will be provided to the board along with the written comments that Mr. Beretta has provided and Ms. Tignanelli promises to provide. And if anyone else wants to, they can send an email to the Dutchess County IDA offices and provided they're timely received, they will be transmitted as promptly as possible to the board, so the board will have a full understanding of all of the comments. I thank you all, and with that, I will close the public hearing. It is now 9:54 a.m. Thank you.